This is the battle of the...
I really think we need to agree on something before this video starts, and that thing is that No Man's Sky was indeed the worst game of 2016. Right? Does everyone agree with me?
I get bored playing this game.
Yeah.
Their intelligent life in this game.
The players, hopefully.
Oh boy. Battlefield 1-1.
Battlefield 1-1.
Mate, listen. Battlefield 1. Battlefield 1.
Infinite Warfare 1? Battlefield
It's
Infinite
clear.
Warfare.
Battlefield
stole my
no
puppet,
doubt.
you piece of
Battlefield
shit.
I am the winner. Battlefield 1-1-1.
I know that most people here are probably gonna say Battlefield 1. And I really don't blame you. If I had the honor of meeting anyone from EA, it would have to be the man or woman who edited together that trailer. That was incredible. That had to be the best trailer that I've ever seen of all time. No joke. And I'm not siding with Battlefield 1 in this. I just have to say it. That was incredible. But then again, I look back at the infamous No Man's Sky, and I think about how much a lot of us hyped it and thought it was going to be an awesome game just to find out that it was shitty. And then I really thought, you know what, I have to open my mind wider instead of just jumping to conclusions. And yes, I do know that there probably are a lot of hardcore COD and even Infinite Warfare fans in here, so I'm not going to stay biased over one of the games. It'll probably be really hard to tell which one I like, and I'll tell you at the end which one I like. But yeah, I just wanted to give fair game for both. I don't want to be like the CNN or the Fox of this review, so yeah. Let's jump into it. Ever since the beginning of time, we have seen countless times two sides. But one has had an interesting event, because these two games seem to have the biggest competition out of any other. And we haven't really seen this type of competition since Sonic vs. Mario. And they weren't really that much of like a crazy competition in the past because, you know, they're both games you can just pay $60. But this year, Obama raised them taxes $1 up. And now we have to fight for supremacy. The Call of Duty on the battlefield laid among us. And that pun was pretty bad, honestly.
Neck yourself.
I'm just gonna say who won in which category. So yeah, let's do this. This is probably the main reason that people dislike Infinite Warfare. As some people think that it's some sort of Halo Star Wars clusterfuck, I can really see it, and that's also the reason that I disliked it. It genuinely was a misleading trailer because it really did just mislead us to think that it's mostly going to take place in space. And it sort of has a Black Ops 3 type of theme with its maps, so it's not like every single multiplayer map is in space. And when you think about it, the game itself is not bad. The only reason that people dislike it, and I have to agree to an extent, is that the name Call of Duty doesn't really resonate with this sci-fi space theme that much. And Ghost sort of foreshadowed that. And ironically, from what I've heard, people's favorite part of Ghost was that space scene, and I have to admit it was pretty fun. But maybe it's because it takes place in a modern type of theme, as in it doesn't really look very sci-fi. And as a personal preference, if I had to be the director for this Infinite Warfare project and I had no other choice or else I would be fired, I would try and base it around as modern as it can be. Like a battle in the space station. That would be pretty awesome. But Battlefield made something that seemed old and you can't recreate to something that is badass. It's crazy that they could make it feel so modern even though it's over 100 years old. Who would ever think that a Zeppelin could be just as badass as one of these spaceships? Graphics. Besides playing games just for enjoyment, as a little kid, I always imagined and questioned, will there ever be a time that graphics will look so realistic that you couldn't really tell the difference between real life and the game? Or if graphics will even advance to the point where, yeah, it'll just get better. And if there's one company that I have to admire, it has to be EA. Over the years, Battlefield has become sexier and sexier. Battlefield 3 really shocked me with how it looked, because just look at it. You don't even have to explain why. And the same with Battlefield 4. Even when I first clicked start, right there, that was amazing. Just seeing all of the detail and how deep it goes and the lighting and just everything. It looks so good. And I consider this car scene to be one of the best moments in video game history, in my opinion, because of how beautiful it is. As much as it's a sad scene, it's still really beautiful. And of course, Battlefield 1 just stole the show. Because now this is my favorite moment, which is also not really a good moment because of the sad event that happened, but it just looks so beautiful. Jesus Christ. And I won't stay biased for this because Infinite Warfare also has fairly good graphics. I have to say though, that motion blur on the gun in multiplayer is something that I do like. I know that a lot of people dislike it, but for some reason, I sort of enjoy it. It may not add realism and it may add frame problems, but when you're playing it in 60 frames and you just play it, it just looks like it should be there. It's sad to say. And just because a game does not look graphically beautiful does not mean that the game is a bad game. Activision mostly focuses on what's seen around you instead of what's in front of you. Like this beautiful scenery, you can't really see that in Battlefield 1 as much. But in this category, Battlefield 1 wins fair and square, no doubt. Battlefield 1 has multiple stories, and one of the educational and pretty interesting things about these stories is that they actually happened. Now, of course, some things were dramatized, just like if you play a video game based off of a movie, things get changed and dramatized as well to make it more interesting and to make it more video game-like. But the stories still work very well, and the idea that so many could be made makes it even more interesting. Instead of telling one person's perspective across the whole game, it basically tells a little bit of the story of just World War I and what people personally experienced. And I find that pretty interesting. And I think that it is a pretty well point to the modern social justice warrior that says that video games are not educational. Like I said in my review of Battlefield 1, this is a literal middle finger to those people. But in all 100% honesty, the Infinite Warfare story actually is just as enjoyable as the previous ones. And yeah, sometimes I do get a little bit frustrated. I get that Star Wars vibe sometimes. But it still feels like a Call of Duty story that we've experienced in the past. So, for the story category, Infinite Warfare wins. It's crazy to think that even though these vehicles are over 100 years old, they all function pretty well for a video game. Of course, my favorite is the Zeppelin, if it's not already obvious. And riding the horse is pretty fun, because now it's classified as a vehicle, technically, haha. And some of the weapons like the flamethrower are pretty awesome. Everything from detail to the sound sounds just amazing. Though we don't really get to use many vehicles in Infinite Warfare, some like this ship, and some of the cars are pretty fun. I have to say though that the weapons in Zombies and also in just Infinite Warfare in general are also pretty amazing. I personally like this one. Do I need to say more why? So for vehicles, Battlefield 1 wins. For weapons, Infinite Warfare wins. Yes, the main reason everyone buys both of these games. And for this category, I have a problem with both of their multiplayers. Not saying that both of them are bad, just everything has its ups and downs, and I would actually want to address the downs before I address the ups, because I'm going to actually address them at the same time. You die a lot. That or I just suck. No, I'm just kidding, that's not the issue. There's actually two separate issues for both of the games, and for Infinite Warfare, it's that there's too many people cluttered into one area, which means that you die every second, and it's not really hard to not find someone, which is a good thing and a bad thing. For Battlefield, it's a little bit of the opposite, because it takes so long to find someone, and then when you find someone to kill, there's a 50-50 chance that you did kill them or didn't. Now for the positive things, the overall experience in Battlefield 1 is pretty unique and actually pretty fun. If I haven't shown this a trillion times already in my trailer and my review of Battlefield 1, this right here is the best moment, not in terms of graphics, but just in general. The best moment that I've ever experienced in a game. This right here, this picture. Just everything. Me riding on a horse while this blimp is falling. I have never experienced that in any game. And this is as close as I'll ever get to this moment in Battlefield 4. That was incredible. And the idea that it happened in such a smooth frame rate and everything was fine, that is incredible. Now, for Infinite Warfare, it's not all about what you see happen in the game. It's more about customizing your character and weapons, and it's more of a personal experience than an experience that everyone will share on the battlefield. Pun not intended. It actually was. And yeah, leveling up seems to have a better meaning in Infinite Warfare than it does in Battlefield. That, and there are more choices in Infinite Warfare for like game modes and stuff. So I would actually have to say 50-50. They're both pretty good multiplayer modes. Can't really say that they're horrible or amazing. Even though they both do have amazing features, they're not like number one like I've seen in the past. I would have to say Battlefield 4 and Modern Warfare games had the best multiplayers I've ever experienced for both of the games. So what are my final thoughts? Both of these games have their flaws and both of these games have their ups. And they both have a certain audience. And ironically, these two games really seem to metaphor the election. Some people are going to be with Call of Duty because they've always been with Call of Duty and they like Call of Duty, like some Republicans will still stay Republican or Democrats will still stay Democrats. But unlike that, there's two choices. You could choose something futuristic or old-fashioned, and there's nothing wrong with either. The problem people had with Infinite Warfare is that it didn't really seem to match the brand, and I do have to agree that there is some flaws with the theme. But it still doesn't make me feel like this is a whole new game, like I'm playing Halo or something. I still feel that Call of Duty vibe. You still got the team, you still got the characters. From what we've heard, next year there might be a Vietnam-themed Call of Duty, which means that we're going back to the old days. Yahoo! For Battlefield 1, I don't really know what to say. I'd actually like to see your guys' thoughts on which game is better using that card up there. So yeah, thank you guys for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Meow.
Really spectacular, spared no expense.